There is a car out there that takes 600 hours just to paint. 600 hours. That is 25 days. You could fly to the moon and back in less time than it takes to finish a single coat on this machine. And no, that is not a typo. That is a Rolls Royce. But here is the thing most people get wrong about Rolls Royce. Most people think Rolls Royce is expensive because of the badge, because of the name, because some rich guy in England decided to slap a fancy logo on a car and charge 10 times more than everyone else. But that is not even close to the truth. The truth about why a Rolls Royce costs what a Rolls Royce costs is far more insane than you think. So let us start with the leather, because the leather inside a Rolls Royce is not just leather. Rolls Royce sources hides from bulls, and only bulls, raised in specific climates where there are no barbed wire fences. Why? Because barbed wire scratches the hide, and a single scratch, a single imperfection, means that hide gets rejected. Rolls Royce will reject an entire bull hide over one tiny mark that you would never even notice with your bare eyes. That is how obsessive Rolls Royce is about perfection. And it does not stop there. Each Rolls Royce uses the hides of up to 18 bulls. 18! Just for the interior of one single Rolls Royce. And every single one of those hides has to be absolutely flawless. Now let us talk about the paint, because the paint on a Rolls Royce is where things get truly ridiculous. Rolls Royce offers over 44,000 colour options. 44,000! You could spend your entire life trying to pick a colour for your Rolls Royce and still not make it through the catalogue. But the colour is only the beginning. Once a customer picks the shade for their Rolls Royce, the painting process begins. And Rolls Royce does not rush this process. Not even a little. Every Rolls Royce gets sanded by hand between coats. Not by a machine, not by a robot, by a human hand. And every Rolls Royce receives multiple layers of paint, each one inspected under lights so bright they could blind you, looking for imperfections smaller than a grain of sand. If even one flaw is found, the entire section gets stripped and repainted. From scratch. No shortcuts, no compromises. That is Rolls Royce. And the wood? Oh, the wood inside a Rolls Royce deserves its own documentary. Rolls Royce does not use fake wood. Rolls Royce does not use printed wood grain. Every piece of wood inside a Rolls Royce is real, hand-selected, and matched so that the grain flows perfectly from one panel to the next. A single Rolls Royce dashboard takes a craftsman, and Rolls Royce calls them craftsmen, not workers, up to 30 days to complete. 30 days on one dashboard. And if the wood grain does not line up from one side of the Rolls Royce to the other, they start over. They throw it away and start completely over. Because inside a Rolls Royce, everything has to be seamless. Everything has to be perfect. But here is where things get really wild. The Rolls Royce Starlight Headliner. You have probably seen pictures of this. It is one of the most iconic features in any Rolls Royce. The roof of the Rolls Royce is fitted with up to 1,640 hand-placed fibre optic lights. Each one of those lights is individually woven into the leather headliner by a single craftsman, by hand, not by a machine. And the customer can choose which constellation they want mapped across the ceiling of their Rolls Royce. You want the night sky from the exact date you propose to your wife? Rolls Royce will do that. You want the sky from the night your child was born? Rolls Royce will map that too. And this process alone, just the Starlight Headliner of a Rolls Royce, takes over 9 hours to complete. For dots of light on a ceiling, 9 hours. Because Rolls Royce does not believe in cutting corners. Now, let us talk about the engine, because the engine inside a Rolls Royce is an absolute monster, but you would never know it. Rolls Royce engineers spend thousands of hours making sure the engine of a Rolls Royce is virtually silent. The Rolls Royce Phantom is so quiet inside that it is one of the most silent places on Earth on 4 wheels. Rolls Royce uses over 100 kilograms of sound insulation in every single Rolls Royce. The doors of a Rolls Royce are so heavy, so thick, so densely packed with sound deadening material that Rolls Royce had to engineer a special soft close mechanism just to shut them, because a door that heavy cannot be slammed. And Rolls Royce would never want you to slam a door anyway. That is not the Rolls Royce experience. The Rolls Royce experience is silence. The Rolls Royce experience is floating. The Rolls Royce experience is sitting inside a machine that makes the outside world disappear. And this brings up something most people never even think about. Rolls Royce does not build cars on a traditional assembly line. A Rolls Royce is not thrown together by robots in some factory. Every Rolls Royce is built at the home of Rolls Royce in Goodwood, England. And every single Rolls Royce is essentially hand-built. Yes, Rolls Royce uses some modern technology, but the critical elements, the stitching, the wood, the paint, the finishing, all of that is done by human hands. Rolls Royce employs master craftsmen who have trained for years, sometimes decades, before they are even allowed to work on a customer's Rolls Royce. You do not just walk in off the street and start stitching a Rolls Royce seat. You earn that privilege. But here is the real reason Rolls Royce is so expensive. And this is the part most people miss. Rolls Royce is not selling you a car. Rolls Royce is selling you a bespoke experience. Almost every Rolls Royce that leaves Goodwood is different. Customers can commission their Rolls Royce with virtually anything they want. Want your Rolls Royce to match the exact shade of your favourite lipstick? Done. Want the interior of your Rolls Royce stitched with gold thread? Done. Want a special compartment in the back of your Rolls Royce that is built specifically to hold your favourite champagne at the perfect temperature? Rolls Royce will build that for you. This is the bespoke division of Rolls Royce. And the bespoke division of Rolls Royce has fulfilled some of the most outrageous requests in automotive history. Rolls Royce once built a customer a picnic set that folded out of the boot of their Rolls Royce, complete with handcrafted silverware, crystal glasses, and a cashmere blanket. For a picnic, out of a car boot. That is Rolls Royce. So when someone asks, why is a Rolls Royce so expensive? The answer is not simple. A Rolls Royce is expensive because of the 18 flawless bull hides. A Rolls Royce is expensive because of the 600 hours of paintwork. A Rolls Royce is expensive because of the hand-woven Starlight ceiling. A Rolls Royce is expensive because of the 30-day dashboard. A Rolls Royce is expensive because of the silence, the craftsmanship, the obsession with perfection that goes into every square inch of every single Rolls Royce ever made. A Rolls Royce is not a car. A Rolls Royce is a statement. A Rolls Royce is a standard. A Rolls Royce is what happens when human beings decide that good enough is never good enough. And that is why Rolls Royce costs what Rolls Royce costs. Not because of a badge, not because of a name, but because Rolls Royce has earned every single penny of that price tag. One hand-stitched, hand-sanded, hand-painted detail at a time. And honestly, when you understand what goes into a Rolls Royce, you start to wonder, how is a Rolls Royce not more expensive?